Hello and welcome back to the Jet Press Podcast. My name is Justin Fried, and I'm joined, as always, by my good friend, my partner in Jets misery, Mike Luciano. Mike, everything kind of sucks right now.
Don't you dare say how you doing.
I mean, how you doing, buddy? What's going on? I know how I'm doing, and I'm doing a little bit better than I was on Sunday, I think. Had a little bit of, some days to decompress from another blowout, humiliating home loss for this Jets team. But how are you feeling? Have you decompressed a little bit? Have you rebounded from yet another?
Well, I'm dreading
loss?
the fact that this team is careening towards an 0-6 start.
Yep.
Because
we got to wake up early for it.
Look, there are probably better teams in this league. Definitely there are. I don't know if there is a worse singular matchup for the Jets right now than the current Denver Broncos.
Yeah.
It is just everything they don't do well, the Broncos do, and vice versa. It is going to be I'm not optimistic. But before all that, we'll get into a couple different things, including some panic meters, which I think is funny because for those of you who don't know, Restream will save captions you used before, and they had saved two different variations of panic meter. So this panicking is nothing new to us. And then we also are going to talk about some Breece Hall trade stuff because trade talk is here, fire sale talk is here. Breece seems like a guy that a lot of other teams want. I can understand why, because he's very good. We'll get into all that. First, you know where to find us, though. Apple, Google, Spotify, Overcast, all those sites. We are there. That's where you can get your podcast. And we are on YouTube. So you can subscribe there. You can like the stream. Both those things really do help. You can join our membership for 99 cents a month. That really helps. As Brian Sternbeck says, Peyton's average margin of victory over ex-assistants is 14 points, Sean Payton. So
nice.
He's now 5-1 against former assistants. And Dan Campbell and Aaron Glenn beat him up in 2023. That was the last time. So
I feel like we had some Sean Payton takes in the past that may not have aged super well.
Yeah, that was pre Bo Nix, who I still have reservations about.
Oh, same. Bo Nix is not.
But this is not going to be. This is not going to be the game for us to get our Bo Nix takes off because he's going to probably have an incredibly easy day unless Jarvis Brownlee is just Champ Bailey, which who knows.
He's going to get Michael Clemens in space and all these play action bootlegs, and that'll be it.
They're not going to throw one ball beyond 10 yards at average depth of target.
Well, I hope they do because I have Cortland Sutton starting in fantasy.
Yeah.
But other than that,
but they won't need to.
You're right. Big Troy Franklin day.
So let's get into some trade talk because there are a lot of Jets that could be traded. Some will be traded. One I really don't get is Breece Hall. Breece Hall is a popular trade target. He's a guy who has really come alive this year. The Jets do one thing well, and that's run the ball. They're number one in the AFC in rushing yards. Breece Hall is averaging over 5 yards per carry. I know he had the fumble, but honestly, looking back on it, he did pretty much get smacked really hard when he wasn't even looking at Maris Leafau right where the ball was, and he knocked it out. I think that's a good play by Leafau instead of Breece Hall choking or whatever and not being motivated. But teams want to trade Breece Hall, especially because he had a quote like, "Hey man, I'm a running back and I'm running out of years to show that I'm in my prime," which sounds like I don't want to be here.
That exact quote, by the way, I got it pulled up. He said, "I'm in my 4th year and I don't have a lot of time left to prove what I can do, what I want to do, and who I can be in this league." So you could see why people would take
I don't know if that's I don't want to be here because the Jets currently are losing and it's miserable, or I don't want to be in New York writ large for the future. I don't know what that means yet. Maybe a couple wins will change his tune. I don't know. But all I do know is this. Breece Hall, you can't trade. You can't do it. Not that he's untradeable because you're going to have to pay him in the offseason. This offense, the offense functions more than the defense, but this team barely functions right now. The one thing they can do well is run the ball, and the one thing they can do well is get the ball in Breece Hall's hands. Even getting it to Garrett Wilson is a chore sometimes. Think about this run-first offense. It is so run-first, they run down multiple scores late in the third quarter because that's all they know how to do well with this really good run-blocking offensive line that's actually been proven is a good run-blocking offensive line. Now imagine you take him out of that. Then you take Braylon Allen out of it, who may not play for the rest of the year because he's hurt. And let's say they're not going to trade him this week, so let's just say they trade him week 7. That means for half the year, Isaiah Davis is going to touch the ball more than anybody else on this team except Justin Fields. I don't know how you build an offense around that. I don't want to use what limited draft capital they have because keep in mind, they don't have a 3rd-round pick this year, which is probably going to be one of the first picks of the 3rd round because of Hassan Reddick.
Thank you.
The Eagles have it now. So
Thank you, Joe Douglas.
Thank you, Joe Douglas. if they take a quarterback, then you got to take a quarterback. You allocate stuff to that. They have to use picks on wide receivers and defensive ends in addition to free agency. This running back class in the draft is very weak. There may only be 2 guys, I think, right now that go in the first 2 rounds. So that's a very weak class. And if you want to sign a guy in free agency, well, why not just keep Breece Hall? Because he's better than anybody else in free agency. He's a guy where you have to look at every move, and it sounds cliche, and it sounds like a move that Darren Moogie's probably going to tell the assembled press if he meets him, but every move you have to look at through the prism of how does this help the Jets in 2026 and beyond. And there's no way that trading Breece Hall for what, a 4th-round pick? Darren Moogie has nailed his first 2 picks. His day 3 picks have not looked very good right now, and I don't see trading Breece Hall for another shot at a day 3 pick. I don't see how that helps the Jets turn it around, especially when so much of their identity is built around Breece. Like, you're not getting a Hall, like a 2nd-round pick for him. You're just not going to do it.
I'll get to a couple of comments here from JJ because I kind of want to play a little devil's advocate to what you're saying here. JJ said, fire sale. I'm trading almost anyone. You absolutely trade Hall. Season is over and we're not signing Breece. Have to trade.
Well, then who do you sign?
I feel like I'm somewhere in between both of you where I'm not, banging down the door. Is that the phrase? I always mess up any phrase with the word bang in it.
Banging the table, knocking down the door,
not pounding the table, or banging. No, is banging the table it? That sounds wrong.
Pounding the table.
Yeah, banging the table is something different. That's what I said the first time. No, I'm not like rushing to trade Breece Hall, but I'm entertaining offers. I don't think I understand exactly what you're saying, Mike, and I think unfortunately the Braylon Allen injury is very unfortunate, and that's malpractice on the Jets' part, having him return kicks for multiple reasons. 1, because he has such an important role in the offense. 2, because you don't know if Breece Hall is going to be on the roster past November. And 3, because why in the world is he even returning kicks? He doesn't have experience doing it, and his skill set does not necessarily lend itself to returning kicks. So malpractice that he was even returning kicks in the first place, and now the fact that he is out, that is very unfortunate. And I think it makes a Breece Hall trade less likely and less logistical, but I think you still have to consider it. I, for one, like Isaiah Davis. Now, I don't think Isaiah Davis would step into a lead back role and produce at the same level of Breece Hall, but I do think that he is someone that is impressed when given the opportunity. I believe he is the best pass blocking back on this roster. I think he's a better overall running back than Braylon Allen. I forget if I've said that on air before or not, but I've said that to others. I don't know if I've said that to you. But I don't think he's as physically talented as Braylon Allen or even Breece Hall, but I think he's a very capable running back with good vision who is well-rounded as a pass catcher and a pass blocker. So I would not be opposed. In fact, I would want him to get more touches moving forward, even if they don't trade Breece Hall. I would like to see more of Isaiah Davis. Now, obviously, though, if you do trade Breece Hall, the running back room you're left with is bare bones. You would be looking at a running back room of Isaiah Davis. Khalil Herbert would be RB2 right now if you were to trade Breece Hall, which is not. Khalil Herbert did not make the Colts roster. I do not think he should be receiving significant snaps.
The Bengals had nobody. They traded for him. He barely played.
Yeah. So that would be a concern for me to maybe, paired with Justin Fields again, he can recapture that 2022 magic, but I wouldn't count on that. But I do think if I was making predictions right now, I think it's better. There's a better chance than not that Breece Hall is not on the week 1 roster come 2026. I think Breece Hall is going to be looking for James Cook like money. And I don't know if the Jets feel they're in a position to give him that contract given where the roster is currently at. It depends on what their evaluation is of Isaiah Davis. It depends on what their plan would be if they move on from Hall, because obviously you'd have to replace him in some capacity this coming off season, whether that's in the draft or free agency or a combination of the two. So it depends on a lot of factors, but I still think it's more likely than not that he's not on the week 1 roster in 2026. And because of that, I do think you have to entertain offers. Now,
who's RB1 then if Braylon is gone? Is it a guy they sign? If Breece is gone, excuse me. Is it Braylon? Is it a guy they sign? Is it Isaiah Davis?
I think it's a committee.
The options are very slim out there.
I think it's committee with Davis, Allen, and then guys they bring in, whether that's in the draft or free agency. That would be my guess.
On a lot of teams, I could buy that, but when the Jets are so committed, run the ball, run the ball, run the ball.
They are.
And the best unit on their team is their offensive line in terms of how well they run block. I think that's just not kneecapping themselves, but you have one of the few legitimate strengths on their team is their ability to run the ball with Breece Hall. And then now that's gone.
Well,
unless Isaiah Davis just turns into an amazing running back, which I think he'll be an okay NFL player. I don't think he'll be like a starting running back.
I would push back.
Really quick though, Mr. Fan, a Broncos fan, how do we always end up playing the Jets?
I don't know, man. And
it's like what, 4 years in a row?
Elijah Vera Tucker's already hurt this year, so it's not even like
you can't take him this year.
Yeah, you can't. The Denver turf can't take him. But
before you answer that too, Justin, another jumping off point from JJ for your point. Doesn't matter. O-line makes the running back.
I'm glad he says that, because what I was going to push back and say that I would not argue that the strength of this Jets offense is running the ball at Breece Hall. I would argue that the strength of the offense is running the ball. I don't view Breece Hall as this all-world irreplaceable talent. Now, I don't believe the Jets have a running back on their roster who is better than Breece Hall, and I don't think it's necessarily easy to find a guy, like one singular player, that will be better than Breece Hall, but I don't think it's impossible to replace his production, or at least come close to replacing his production, with Isaiah Davis, Braylon Allen, and whatever they have next year. The real conversation is going to be if they are. I don't think they've decided they're letting him walk necessarily already, but again, I do think it's more likely he's not on the team next year. The conversation will be, what can we get in him, for him in a trade now, versus what can we get in a comp pick if we let him walk, because we don't know what kind of contract he's going to get. And now, obviously, if you're getting that comp pick, that will be a 2027 pick. So it will not be an immediate boost to the roster, will not immediately help you. But I do think that that's something that they are going to have to consider. What they're going to shop. I don't know if they're going to shop him around, but I think they will absolutely field offers. And if some team comes calling with a 4th round pick, Mike, I think they might bite.
Think about this too. If they have a high pick, which they're going to have a high pick, and they take a young quarterback, they will have a young quarterback, oodles of cap space. I think it's like 5th most in the league, despite all the Rodgers dead cap. They have a lot of money available to spend next year, and a lack of weapons. And they're going to say, we don't want to pay. I don't think Breece Hall's like, Derrick Henry or Saquon or something like that. But I think he's showing that the downturn last year may have been just playing next to Rodgers in shotgun, where he can't really do the stuff he was good at prior to Rodgers. So because of that, I just don't think you're finding a replacement for that. And I'm fine with committee-based running backs for a team with a proven quarterback, for a team that throws the ball a lot. Like, for a team that their whole ethos, whatever that means on offense, is run the ball, run the ball, run the ball, to downgrade at that position when you could have a rookie quarterback coming in who already needs weapons. I think that might be a tough sell, as to like, we're building a good environment for this quarterback to develop, and then we're just having Zach Wilson conversations if he doesn't have any help for 3 years.
So would you be willing to give Breece Hall a James Cook contract, like 4 years? What did Cook get? 4 years, $48 million, something like that?
Will he ask for Cook money?
I think he will be. I mean, he was 4th in scrimmage yards 2 years ago, and he's having a really good year now. If he finishes the year as a 1,000-yard rusher, which I believe he's definitely on pace to do, he's going to be asking for James Cook money. He's also, 25, 26? Like, he's not old at all. I think that's what he'll probably be asking for. Would you give him that?
I would say, like, even before you brought up the Cook analogy, if I was going to offer him a contract, I would have probably said 4 years, 44. So $11 million a year, slightly less.
I think he'll want a little bit more than that. And I think if he has a good year this year,
what did Kyron Williams get?
Probably around that. I think it was like $12 million a year for Kyron, something like that.
Kyron got 3 years, 33. So he got 11.
He got 11. I think Breece, Breece is a lot more explosive than Kyron, although he's not as explosive as he once was. Breece, like, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's even this year, we haven't seen, like, there's been a couple of plays where I'm like, man, 2023 Breece would have broken that. And he just hasn't this year. Like,
it's more consistent. It's 6 yards, 7 yards, 8 yards.
And I think a lot of that, well, again, I do believe Breece is having a very good year, independent of his situation. I do believe a lot of that is the run blocking of the O-line. Let me propose you a scenario. You trade Breece Hall for a 4th round pick at the deadline. You run the rest of the year with Isaiah Davis and a ragtag group of running backs that are not particularly.
How do you win with that, though?
You're not going to win.
That's already not that he's feeling the heat, but like,
you're not winning with Breece anyway. So I don't think winning games this year should be the reason that you don't get a pick for Breece Hall. Like, if you're getting a 4th round pick, I don't think this is the reason that you would not trade him. You go into the offseason, you run it back with Braylon, Isaiah Davis, and Rico Dowdle. I like that running back room going into next year, and I don't think that it's a significant downgrade from Breece Hall, and I think you're paying a lot less to the running back position that you could then invest in positions like defensive end that you need, like wide receiver 2 that you desperately need, like bringing in maybe another guard. Can you not
do both? They have money this offseason.
You can, but I would like to invest that money elsewhere. I don't think Breece Hall is good enough for me to want to give him James Cook money. I'm still not extremely high on him as like a difference-making talent. I think given the roster that the Jets currently have, his skill set looks a little bit more intriguing because they are so inept when it comes to offensive skill players. And I think a lot of his production is coming because the offensive line has been very good. And I do think he's playing well, but I also think you can replace him. And this isn't meant to be like a running backs don't matter conversation, but it's trending towards that, where I don't think Breece Hall is in the upper echelon of running backs at this stage in current year, where I think he's an irreplaceable player. I do believe the Jets.
I'd feel better about if we had Braylon Allen, because the one thing too, Braylon Allen, I still think I like his potential a lot. I think he should have a role with the Jets next year.
Agreed.
When he's on the field, there's a clear difference between Breece Hall and Braylon Allen.
There is.
Yeah, it's not like, because Braylon Allen is playing with the same offensive line.
That's why we
don't see the same big runs.
I would not feel comfortable going into next year with Braylon and Isaiah Davis as the top two running backs. That's why I'm saying, like, a guy like I think
then you're going to have to pay to get. I know that a lot less, but you're still going to have to spend in free agency.
What's Dowdle getting? 2 years, $7 million? Like, he's getting nothing. That would be a cheap signing for a guy who I think can very much outplay that contract.
But then you're going cheap at a position that the Jets value more than most other teams. It seems
you're going cheap at a position that I certainly don't value. That I don't think that the Jets should be valuing at a point where they're paying Breece Hall top 5 player on the roster, top 4 player on the roster money. Like, I don't think they should be investing that into a running back who I don't believe is a game-changing talent. And maybe I'm just lower on Breece than others. Like, I think he's a very talented receiver when he's got his head on straight and he's not dropping passes, which he is not this year. I think his work in the receiving game has been very impressive this year, significantly better than it was a year ago. I know he just had that fumble, but the ball security stuff has been fixed. Like, he was he had 6 fumbles last year, 9 drops. That has been a lot better this season. I think he's playing very good football, not 2023 levels, but significantly better than 2024. I just don't think it would be in the best interest of the Jets, especially if they get a 4th round pick for him at the deadline. I don't think it'd be in the best interest of keeping him on the roster moving forward. Butch says restart the clock on a top 100 running back pick.
They only have 2 of them.
I would rather,
and they need a quarterback with one of them.
Yeah, I would rather sign a vet. I also don't think the Jets are in a position to be spending top 100 picks on a running back, especially when you have 2 rookie running backs who I think are NFL caliber back.
In a weak class, too.
Yeah, exactly.
Jeremiah Love's probably going to be a 1st-round pick. Nick Singleton's probably going to be a 2nd-round pick. Yeah. And then who the hell knows after that?
Yeah, like I don't think the Jets have 2 running backs on rookie contracts right now who I think are NFL caliber, rotation caliber backs. I don't think you need to use another top 100 pick like on a running back. I don't think that would be smart. I think bringing in a vet, a guy that like a Rico Dowdle, or look at who else is in free agency this year. I mean, Javonte Williams having a resurgence. I mean, maybe Dallas probably brings him back.
He's going to ask for not Breece level, but if he gets like $8 million a year, like, would you rather pay him $8 million a year or Breece Hall $11 million a year?
I mean, I don't
$3 million a year. That's not.
I'm looking at this running back class. I think so. You got ETN in Jacksonville, which that's a really interesting situation. I'm not sure what's going to happen there. You have Kenneth Walker in Seattle. I think they probably bring him back. If they don't,
I think they don't. I think they keep Charbonnet. Yeah.
If they don't, Kenneth Walker is probably the top running back in the market. It's him and Breece. Those would be the top running backs.
But I think Breece is a cut above Kenneth Walker. I think Walker's really taken a downturn this year, whereas Breece has improved.
You could argue that. I think going into this year, I would have taken Walker, but we'll see. Obviously, a lot can change until the end of the season. But outside of that, you're looking at Dowdle, Javonte Williams, Najee Harris coming off an Achilles tear.
Oh, I don't want that. Oh my God. I don't talk about slow running backs.
I don't want Najee Harris. You have Braylon Allen. You don't need Najee Harris. J.K. Dobbins, that's another one that's an injury risk. I like Jerome Ford. Like, I wouldn't hate that. I like Jerome Ford. I think he's a capable
Jerome Ford competing for RB1 with a rookie quarterback just seems like mega death offense.
Like I said, I'd rather a Rico Dowdle, who has been an RB1, has over 1,000-yard rush. He's a 1,000-yard rushing season under his belt. Just ran for over 200 yards in a spot start. Granted, against Miami, but still, like that's
pretty much before that he was doing nothing the entire year. So,
well, he was not playing a ton. Chuba was their guy.
Like, why was he not playing a ton?
Because they like Chuba Hubbard, because Chuba Hubbard's good. Chuba Hubbard's a good player, Mike. Chuba Hubbard is a better running back than Breece Hall.
Okay, I disagree with that.
I don't know if that's a crazy take. He certainly was last year. I think
Breece has been slightly better this year.
Maybe. He's got a much better offensive line.
He's a better receiver than Chuba, too.
He is. But as a pure runner, like, he's got a much better O-line than Chuba Hubbard does. The Panthers O-line stinks, dude.
Mr. Fantov says JK is ours. Yeah, I think they probably bring
you drafted RJ Harvey. You don't need him.
Lucky Borgans, trade Hall to my Bears for Tyson Bagent.
I don't know about Bagent.
I don't know about that.
They just extended Bagent. He's not going.
I was his biggest fan pre-draft, and I don't know if it's his dad like sneaking into anonymous accounts, but yeah, the way Tyson Bagent is discussed is
the hype train went off the
very
rails.
funny.
Tyson Bagent.
Jets can always sign Cam Akers to a 1-year deal. Says Jeff.
Good.
That is no way.
They get signed into their practice squad. That'd be fine.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that.
Cam Akers in their practice squad. That's fine. I don't know. The Breece conversation is going to be really fascinating, and I genuinely get both perspectives on it. I don't think there's a right answer. I'm in the camp of see what you can get for him, and if you can get like a 4th round pick, I trade him. That's where I'm at with it. But I totally understand the argument, especially Braylon Allen out. That's like, how do you replace him, with the current running backs in the roster?
Isaiah Davis is going to get 20 touches a game.
Listen, man, trial by fire. See what you got in him. Like, maybe Isaiah Davis is legit. I don't know. He has 25 career carries? Like, he's barely touched the ball. He's been good when he has. I'd like to see
Braylon was a tick better. I'm like, okay, maybe, but we haven't seen that.
If Braylon didn't get hurt, I'd be much more like fully on trade Breece Hall. Like, I would be very much in that camp. Now, with Braylon out, it's like, all right.
You got to have a team here. You can't just,
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, maybe you do, trade Breece and then get like a vet back. I don't know. Like if you trade him to the, I don't know, what's the team that would be the Chargers just lost.
The Bears, the Chiefs.
The Bears. Maybe get Roshan back. Hey.
Oh my God, no.
Hey, what's wrong? I mean,
he straight up can't play. Have you seen his career averages?
Hold on. Roshan Johnson and Khalil Herbert, Justin Fields' backfield is hilarious. That's actually really funny.
Yeah.
Just recreating the 2022
trade for Darnell Mooney. Yeah.
Hey, I mean, Darnell Mooney would easily be wide receiver 2. Not even close.
We were talking about this before the other show. Just look at every other team and just talk about how far down each depth chart do you have to go before you find someone who
This is actually a really fun experiment we should do every week. Looking at the Broncos roster, who's the worst? Would Trent Sherfield be wide receiver 2 on the Jets?
No.
I think that might be the line. But their top 3 all would. Marvin Mims and Troy Franklin absolutely would be. Yes. Pat Bryant, I don't know about Pat Bryant.
Pat Bryant would be competing with Arian Smith.
Yeah,
he'd be 2 totally different styles. So
completely different. Yeah, he'd be. Well, look, is Pat Bryant worse now than Lazard? I don't think so. I don't think he is.
If it sounds like we're panicking, it's because we are a little bit. So we is. So let's go and get the temperature of the room on a couple maypoles that have been the source of controversy for Jets fans and NFL fans now, because it's starting to break out of the Jets bubble with how bad they've been this year. Justin, who do you want to start off with?
Let's start with this coaching staff. I kind of want to run through all 3 of the prominent coaches with this Jets team. And of course, we got to start with the head honcho, with the guy leading the charge.
Aaron Glenn, yes.
Let's start with Aaron Glenn. It has been, I would say, as bad of a start to the Aaron Glenn era as you could imagine. Now, we know this Jets roster is not very talented. They are probably a bottom 5 roster in terms of talent in the NFL. But I do believe
Dinosaur says sell Michael Clemens for a 6-piece chicken nuggets. You wouldn't even get that.
I don't think the Jets would do that though. They clearly still value him for some reason.
He's their second best defensive end when Jermaine's out.
When Jermaine's currently, yes. And I wouldn't even argue that point. I think he is, which is unbelievable. But it's been about as bad of a start to the Aaron Glenn era as you could imagine. Again, this roster is not very talented. We know that, but you don't get to a point where you are the only winless team remaining in football based sheerly on a lack of talent. This is clearly more than a talent problem. The Jets have 7 or 8 guys who've received all pro votes in the last 3 years on this roster. Now, some of those guys obviously are no longer that caliber of player. Michael Carter, a couple of years ago, was receiving all pro votes. He's now probably the worst nickel corner in the NFL, and he's also hurt. Other guys like Quincy Williams, currently injured. Jermaine Johnson, currently injured. I get that. There is still more talent on this roster than an 0-5 team. And it's not just that. It's not just the results, right? It's the fact that the Jets have not been competitive for the vast majority of the quarters they have played this season. It's the fact that you have guys jogging on the field, that you have Aaron Glenn
Sherwood.
Yeah. Sherwood. You have guys, you have Aaron Glenn screaming at his players after the loss to Miami in the locker room, just chewing them out, yelling at them. And then a few days later, when they play Dallas, they get blown out. They get humiliated. It's an even worse performance. Clearly what Aaron Glenn is saying, clearly his messaging is falling on deaf ears with a lot of guys in that locker room, especially when you have team leaders like Jamie and Sherwood who just got paid. This is your defensive captain, your green dot guy. This is your defensive play caller. And he is, or, signal caller, whatever you want to call it. And he's jogging out there, right? Like that's a really bad look. And I think that falls on the coaching staff. So, I don't know where you are at with Aaron Glenn right now. Obviously, we're not going to say fire him after 5 games, but
what is your kind of? I have no concern at all. 10B, and I want him out tomorrow.
Yeah. Where would you
be at with him number wise?
Oh, you're asking me first.
Yes.
I think I'm at a solid 7.5 to 8. I'm at a solid, I think I'm closer to 8 than a 7 at this point, where I just think all of these red flags continuously pop up. And I was very bullish on the Aaron Glenn hire. I was very optimistic when they brought him in. This was
Everyone was.
He was one of the top commodities on the open market. This was a former franchise legend. We sold ourselves on why he could work. And you looked at the Parcells stuff, you looked at the Dan Campbell stuff. Like there was a lot pointing to why this could be a good hire. But for all the reasons I just mentioned, there's a lot to be pessimistic about through 5 games. And that's not to say that I'm out on Aaron Glenn, because a lot of time can a lot can change in the NFL. Narratives change weekly in this league. If the Jets go out in London and somehow beat the Broncos, which I don't expect that to happen, but if they do, the entire narrative changes and that panic meter drops from like an 8 to about like a 4, probably.
See, I'm at like a 5.5 right now, maybe.
Okay. Given what we've
maybe
seen,
closer to a 6, but maybe 5, because his messaging may not be heard, but I think a lot of guys on this team right now just don't want to hear it. I think this entire team is in a funk. I really think if they get one thing that gets the ball rolling again, I think it'll kind of pick up from there, because this is a very young team. I think they're just everybody's pressing, everybody's depressed, everybody's moping around.
The
Glenn can yell all he wants if they go, whatever, man. Like, what's he to do?
The phrase that I've seen that I really like, I think it was Joe Caporoso said it, is leftover mope from like 2023, 2024. That's what it is. And it's not even just from 2023, 2024. This team hasn't made the playoffs in 14 years.
Williams doesn't even sniff the playoffs in his whole career. And he's good. But
he's never sniffed the winning record in his entire NFL career. These guys, all they know is losing. Quentin Williams, Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, all they know at the NFL level is losing. Quincy Williams, you could throw in that conversation because he was playing with the Jags before the Jets. Like, it's all these guys know. All they know is losing.
You know, one thing I was surprised about, how come Glenn didn't sign any of his Lions players?
Yeah, people have pointed it out. I think Detroit did a good job of retaining some of them. Obviously, they wanted to bring in a few, like a Tim Patrick.
You got the coaches, Engstrom and Steve Hayden.
Your Aaron Glenn culture guys are Josh Reynolds, and I don't know if there's anybody on defense like right now that is an Aaron Glenn culture guy. There's really not. I mean, Harrison Phillips is not a Glenn guy, but that's like
the big mistake Aaron Glenn made. And I don't want to kill him for this necessarily. I think when he got hired, and Muji to a degree, but I think this is more Glenn, I think he thought the Jets, talent-wise, were better than they were. And I think he came in like, if I just put my coaching skills to work, like, we'll be fine. And then he realized, like, oh, this team is – I mean, they're better than an 0-5 team right now, talent-wise, but they're not good anyway. Like,
no.
Best-case scenario, this team's 2-3 this year, and that's with everything that didn't go their way going their way. Like, they weren't beating Buffalo. They weren't beating Miami playing the way they did, and they weren't beating Dallas. So – and even Pittsburgh, they played probably as good as they possibly could and still didn't win. So
the Pittsburgh game is the only good game the Jets have played. It's the only game that they've deserved to win this season. And I would say that they weren't even close to deserving to win the other ones. Even the Tampa game where they led with like a minute and a half to go, they absolutely did not deserve to win that game.
And I think Glenn's better than this.
I don't know. I don't know if he is.
If he's not, then everybody who was with Detroit and New Orleans and who's known everybody there is wrong, and he fooled everybody. That's a lot of people to fool.
Look, all we can go off of for me is what we've seen put on tape through 5 weeks, and what we've seen put on tape through 5 weeks is it's Adam Gase levels bad. It's Rich Kotite levels bad. If this was a hire that was not particularly,
is it leftover mope too?
I'll say this right now, Mike. If this was say the Jets hired Matt Nagy instead of Aaron Glenn, right? And this was the product on the field. Oh my God, the narrative would become even worse. It'd be completely different. It'd be like, oh, we have to fire him now. And I'd be saying that too, because I didn't like the hire at the time. The only reason there's even any level of good grace left for Aaron Glenn and this coaching staff is because people genuinely like the hire at the time.
And because he's a first-year coach.
If they hired a first-year head coach who fans did not want, like, I mean, I'm trying to think of who they even interviewed.
Bobby Slowick, they interviewed.
Yes, that's a great one. Say they hired Bobby Slowick as their head coach, and this was the product on the field. I do not think that anybody would be giving him any level of good grace. I don't think your panic meter would be at a 5. I think it'd be at like an 8. That's what mine would
be at a 6, maybe. I really it's first year with a bad team. Even us being optimistic, we're like, 6 wins, 7 wins. And I know the manner that they're losing is worse than the manner that we thought they'd lose in, but
I mean, that's the point.
Like, I get that, but
the point is they're not competitive.
It's tough to envision. Like, it's hard to call a 4-13 season successful. Like, it's hard to envision.
At this point, I would call it, if they win 4 games the rest of the way, I'd say that's good. That means they go 4-8 the rest of the way. That's right.
Well, I think the point I'm making is, like, fans are going to get on. We're going to get on him unless he just pile up the wins immediately, because this is an impatient fan base, and they have every right to be.
I don't care what the fans think. I'm talking
Well,
about
I'm just saying, like, to think like that. So to
sure. I would not be getting on him. I would not be criticizing the staff as much as I am if it wasn't for the product that we've seen on the field being dog shit, being absolutely terrible, being one of the worst teams, if not the worst.
Again, like we mentioned before, but before I think this will like wrap it up before we go on to the next guy. Like as we mentioned before, like structurally there are things that he can't work around. Depth wise,
absolutely. The DN room is terrible.
DN wide receiver
2 is horrific. Yeah.
Sherwood I think that might be the most impactful thing is Sherwood just forgetting how to play football and not caring.
It is,
but it's a green dot guy.
But effort, if guys are routinely not showing effort, I'm going to point to the coaching. I'm going to point to the head coach. I'm going to point to the so-called CEO culture changer.
I mean, do they even have a backup Mike? If they bench Sherwood, who'd be the backup Mike?
Maui Goa.
He'd move over, yeah. So I mean, like that's
Maui Noah, and you're starting Michael Walker. Like that's. I'm not saying bench Sherwood. I'm saying figure it out. Figure out why guys are moping on the field.
And well, I guess maybe not to be defeatist, but I think maybe some guys the mope has consumed them, and they just like and there's like kind of no way out of it for a lot of them.
So do you think that no matter who they hired, this was going to be the result? Like,
I mean, they certainly weren't going to. Let me put it this way: like I obviously expected more from Glenn. I'm not pleased with the job he's done now, but I think that I think me and him were both caught off guard in how poisoned this roster was, talent-wise, mope-wise. Because I'm like, oh, it can't be that bad. Aaron Glenn, it's probably not as bad as that. And then it is. And I think me and Glenn, are both still in that initial shock of, wow, this is a lot worse.
We'll see.
Marcelo Cabrera, you can't blame Mo Wilk was a coaching problem.
Muhammad Wilkerson.
I guess he's comparing Sherwood to Muhammad
I've seen the Sherwood Mo Will comparisons. I don't know if I'd go that far yet.
Wilkerson was better than Sherwood, actually.
He was at his peak. He was. You're right.
Yeah.
Well, we'll end it with this. The product needs to be better. Like the narrative can very quickly change. Like if the Jets, even if they don't beat the Broncos, because even even if the Jets were rolling,
they're not expected to beat the Broncos to really compete.
Even if the Jets were rolling right now, I do not think they would go into London and beat Denver. I just don't think that would happen. I think that
if they won Pittsburgh and won Tampa, I still think they lose.
Agree. But you have an easier schedule lightening up after that. Man, look, all I'm saying is the bar is in hell. Don't go face Cincinnati and get blown out by Joe Flacco. Like if that happens, man,
Bryce Young lights you up. You're like, okay,
right? Like, and that's where I'm at right now, right? So I just think the bar is in hell. The product needs to improve moving forward. I'm hoping that my panic meter can get lower. Let's move on to a different coach, right? Let's go to the offensive side of the ball. Which
I was going to say the good one or the bad one.
Believe it or not, the offensive side of the ball has been the better unit for the Jets, even if the numbers
they haven't scored a touchdown in when the game has mattered in a month.
That is true, and they still have been the better unit, Mike. that is correct, and they've still been better than this defense. What is your concern level with Tanner Engstrand specifically, the offensive coordinator for the Jets? I think there's been some good stuff on tape. There's been some bad stuff. Some of the situation is quarterback play. Some of it is, personnel is just limited with what they got. What do you think?
They're getting blown out, so he can't really run plays he wants to because he's got to.
Correct. So what do you think about Engstrand? What is your panic level scale of 1 to 10 with Engstrand?
3.5.
Yeah, I was going to say 3. Like that's reasonable.
Here's what Engstrand does not do well right now. He actually does motion a lot, but he doesn't really vary play action or screens a lot, which are things I think Fields could benefit from, especially with teams.
They tried for the first time like this year. They tried doing a lot of screens against Dallas, and they were just getting batted down at the line of scrimmage. Like they had one on a screen to Breece that I criticized at the time, but then watching it back, it was open. Like if he gets that was after they drove down to the goal line and Fields got tackled at the 1, and there was the penalty, and they accepted it. Like they had a screen on 3rd and whatever to Breece that was open, and it just got batted down at the line. Fowler, like it hit Fowler in the head, I think. But like it was there. They tried the screens, but I would like to see them try it even more.
So looking at Engstrand, that's what he doesn't do well. I think that he, as we mentioned before with Fields, because Fields will sometimes turtle up and get too conservative if he thinks the game plan's too conservative. I think sometimes he waits a while to open it up, passing game wise. And I think that his short yardage plays have been terrible. 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, pretty bad. Why is Braylon Allen getting the ball 8 yards behind the line of scrimmage?
That one was brutal. Well, I think that one actually was a Tyrod check. I think it was supposed to be a sneak, and then Tyrod checked out of it. And
here's what he does well, Tanner Engstrand. I really do like how he's not a coward and he's actually throwing down the field. It's not behind the screen dumping off. Like there's actually some ethical passing games here.
Mm-hmm.
He's clearly proven he can design a good running game, offensive line and all. He's clearly been able to do that. I think even with the defense basically gearing up to stop Garrett Wilson, I think he's gotten Garrett Wilson the ball in advantageous situations a lot. I think he realized Mason Taylor needs more catches, and he's actually integrated Mason Taylor pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
I just need to see like 20% more aggression from him. Be a little more vertical, a little more play action. They have the second lowest play action rate in the league. Only the Falcons are below them.
Yeah.
But again, these are things like that's why I don't want to maybe be so hard on Glenn because we always say he's learning as a coach. It's only 5 games in. Like Engstrand's learning as a coach too. So you have to give the same first year guys grace. If you're giving it to Engstrand, you got to give it to Glenn to some degree, I think. So because of that, I'm not necessarily thrilled with how Engstrand has played or performed rather.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're watching the Jets and you're like, man, it's classic. Oh, the OC play call stuff. If that's your thought, then you just don't know what you're watching.
Yeah, I'm with you on pretty much all of that.
Marcelo Cabrera, he doesn't know how to adjust against the blitz. That's a Fields thing.
I think it's a nuanced.
You give Gordon Ramsay some Lunchables. Like, what do you want Gordon Ramsay to do?
It's
Lunchables.
It's hard for us to say honestly how much of because the Jets have struggled picking up blitzes this year, and it's hard for us to say how much of that is Fields and on the quarterback maybe not sliding protection at the right time or not. He's had trouble IDing the mic in the past. Like I don't know how much of it is that or how much of it is the game plan from Tanner Engstrand and offensive line coach Steve Hyden. It's really impossible I think for us to say. And we'll talk about some of the O-line play. We'll talk about Fashanu actually in a little bit because I think Olu Fashanu's had a disappointing second season. But yeah, I think overall Tanner Engstrand has done a good job with the personnel that he's been given. I think the majority of the issues with this Jets offense are that they are, like you said before, not built to play from behind by 14 points, which is unfortunately how they've been doing. And Glenn had a quote on this earlier this week where he said that I don't think the Jets offense has been like starting slow. We just haven't been scoring touchdowns. I think that's true. Like the Jets
move the ball fairly well.
The Jets actually
and then they just fumble at the 5-yard line and then everything goes down.
They have been moving the ball well, and they've actually have been starting games pretty well offensively, especially with on the ground. They just haven't been able to punch it into the end zone, either because of fumbles, because of maybe you can point to poor red zone calling. I think that's a valid concern. There's issues that I still have with Engstrand. Like you said, I want to see them emphasize the play action game more. I want to see them throw screens more. I want to see some deep shots to Arian Smith, dude. I like you drafted him in the 4th round.
To quote Buffalo Jet fan, when he catches the ball, he does stuff.
Right.
Sometimes
he's on.
He actually gets open. His separation's not bad.
His separation has been good this year. I don't even care if it's covered. If it's a one-on-one shot with Arian Smith, I am taking that shot. If you throw a pick, you throw a pick.
Haven't thrown one all year.
Justin Fields has not thrown an interception this year, right? What's the harm, right? There are more things that could go right if you were chucking up a one-on-one deep ball to Arian Smith. Maybe he catches it, right? For one, maybe you draw a penalty, right? And then, obviously it could also be intercepted. It could be batted down and be incomplete. But I think there's more things that can go right. And you at least keep defenses honest when you're doing that. Now, it's tough because teams are selling out and just sending 6 guys after Fields every time. And he's under constant pressure. And that's because they don't really have a passing game. But I think it's kind of a catch-22 situation there where, if you actually start to open up the passing game a little bit, maybe, or because you're not throwing downfield, teams are sending guys after you, which means you can't throw downfield. So if you actually try to start doing it, at least give defenses a reason to care about your passing game, then maybe it can open up the rest of the offense. I think this coming week against Denver is going to be a very difficult time to do that. And maybe you don't want to have that game plan now, but maybe you should have had it against Dallas. Maybe you should have had it against Miami, against probably the 2 weakest secondaries in the NFL. You probably could have done more to attack the secondary there, but it's also hard to say how much of that is Fields, because I think there have been plays this year where the Jets have drawn up. Maybe they want to take a shot play to Arian Smith. They have a little dagger concept where Smith's running the streak downfield and Garrett Wilson's running an intermediate pattern and Fields just doesn't let it rip. He's holding onto the ball too long or checking it down. It's hard to say how much of that is on the quarterback and how much of it is on the OC. But as a whole, I think Engstrand has done a good job. I think he's continuing to learn, and I think the offensive play calling will continue to get better. I don't have a lot of concerns, especially because they've proven that with limited personnel, they still have a blueprint for how they can move the ball offensively. And they do one thing very well, which is run the ball with Breece Hall and Braylon Allen when he's healthy and Isaiah Davis.
Butch Davis, it's tough to sequence plays when you know your deep pass concepts are throwaways.
Again, how much of that is the quarterback too? Like, how much does quarterback? Which
Brian Glick too. If we can get the other team to play prevent all game, Mason Taylor would be an all-pro.
Yeah.
Taylor has been legitimately very good though.
Yeah, I'm happy with Taylor, but yes, the clearly so much of their passing game production the last few weeks has just come when teams are dropping everyone back and they're not like just playing super soft coverage. Like that's been how they've been able to move the ball, in the passing game. It's why Justin Fields' numbers look pretty good this year when he's not been. Justin Fields has been Justin Fields, and we'll talk about him in a moment.
We'll get into that after the big problem. Yes, let's get to that.
Let's talk about the third coach, the third, big coach with this Jets roster, defensive coordinator Steve Wilks, who this was a hire, Mike, that was pretty universally praised at the time. And I think both of us were pretty happy with this move. The selling point being that you're bringing in an experienced defensive mind who has been a DC multiple times, who has been a head coach, including his interim
I was talking the other day to Dean Jones, who runs Cat Crave, our Carolina Panthers site.
Yeah.
And I was saying, like, hey, is it fair to take some shots at Wilks for being bad? And he goes, not really. Like, people in Carolina still are mad that he didn't get the permanent head coaching job. And he basically gave me it kind of pissed me off, not jokingly. He gave me a response of like, hey, I thought he'd be good. I don't know.
Yep.
Like that's what every Panthers person seems to be saying. I thought he'd be good. I don't know what happened.
I think looking back, there are red flags that we probably overlooked because we were happy to bring in an experienced defensive coordinator, experienced defensive mind to allow Aaron Glenn to kind of be that CEO style head coach. I think some of those red flags being he hasn't had a stint longer than 1 year with a team in like a decade, which that's concerning. That's
49ers I actually thought he was okay.
I don't think 49ers fans felt that way. And I don't think Kyle Shanahan thought that as well, because he moved on from him after 1 year and they were pretty happy to move on from him when they did. So, I think there were some red flags we overlooked, but overall, Mike,
what's higher than 10? 26 out of 10?
26 out of 10. That's your panic meter with Steve Wilks?
You don't find, look, you heard about me preaching patience with Glenn.
Yeah.
First year and all that. I'm not above like fire. And I think sometimes the whole fire the coordinator thing is a little silly because fans just want a pound of flesh. But like the unit doesn't function.
No, it doesn't.
And the thing though, too, is actually Greg Olsen made a good point about this on the broadcast about the offense and defense, but he meant the defense mostly. He goes, if you just watch like individual plays or like small sequences, like they look okay at times. They just can never string them together. And the reason, Justin, because they have the worst EPA per dropback allowed in the league.
Yep.
I believe 65% of throws this year against the Jets have been either a first down or a touchdown. 65%. Justin, how many times, we can look at their third down numbers, they get skewed because of garbage time. As much as the offense gets skewed in garbage time, the defense may actually be worse for that. How many times, first down, run of nothing, second down, short pass, 3rd and 6, they completed for 12 yards? How many times that happened a game? 10 times?
It's embarrassing, man. It's truly an embarrassing defense. It's 5 weeks. They haven't forced a turnover.
It's very vanilla. It's 5-man blitzes every single play.
Yes. That's like, and there were some good numbers.
Either drop 8 in the coverage.
Yep.
Or go full Greg Williams and blitz 7.
Going into this past week, the Jets were blitzing at a 31% rate, which is the 7th highest mark in the NFL. Do you know what their pressure rate is, Mike?
Dead last.
Going into this year, dead last, 28%. They're getting pressure on the quarterback less than they're blitzing. How is that possible? That's absurd. That should not be feasible. That should not be possible. And it's because, and I believe it was Connor Rogers that pointed this out, going into this past week against Dallas, I don't know the numbers after the Cowboys game, but the vast majority of the Jets rushes, of their blitz packages, have been 5-man rushes. Over 70% have been 5-man rushes. And you know what teams are doing, Mike? They're not even keeping in tight ends and running backs to help because they don't need it. All
they got to do is just get 2 seconds of protection.
Yeah,
and then find some. Eventually, the linebacker is going to, because Sauce and Stevens have been covering actually like better than most cornerback tandems in the league. It's pretty much just the middle of the field with Quincy hurt.
Yeah,
Sherwood out of position, barely looks like he cares. Quincy's hurt. Kiko Mauagoa, almost not fair to him. He's a 5th-round rookie who should not be the starting will linebacker for an NFL defense at this point. So they're of course going to pick on that. Brian Glick, our D-line not getting pressure or sacks is making it hard. That's the biggest problem. The secondary is going to get maligned because people will just look at passing yards allowed or touchdowns allowed, but they can't pressure anybody. They had they had all backups for Dallas last week, and Miami may have the worst offensive line in the league, and they barely touched Dak. I actually think Brady McGregor got a sack, but the game was out of hand
and that wasn't he tackled him.
He tackled him.
That was not a sack. That was a chase
sack.
down on a scramble. That was not a
sack nominally, which doesn't even really count.
Right.
That's the big problem. And again, part of that is on Wilkes. He's not manufacturing pressure.
No, not at all.
So I don't. So people go, "Oh, you're not being hard on Glenn because what talent does he have to work with?" And like that for Wilkes. Like, yeah, but I think there would be a more there's a direct correlation, I think, to the defense improving.
Yeah.
If they get rid of Wilkes. The concerning thing, though, before we get to this point, Justin, is when Aaron Glenn goes, "Well, I'm not firing Wilkes because I wasn't great my first year in Detroit and Dan Campbell stuck with me." You were a first-time defensive coordinator.
And guess what?
Steve Wilkes has been a head coach a bunch of times. It was supposed to be an instant fix. When you came in, they were willing to let you figure it out. And then you did figure it out eventually in Detroit. Steve Wilkes, the whole point was he didn't need that developmental time. Engstrand, if you were looking at these coaches and said, which one has been a head coach before, you would think Engstrand, not Wilkes.
And guess what? Campbell fired his OC, and they brought in Ben Johnson.
And Ben Johnson, yeah.
Fire coordinators.
And they fired, the guy they fired was Anthony Lynn, who was the experienced head coach in the past guy.
Well, I don't think Wilkes is going to be the DC come 2026. I feel like it's almost a lock at this
I almost
point.
think that's why Glenn doesn't want to take over defensive play calling, because he's like, look, I'm getting rid of this guy. I don't want to just fire a coordinator after 5 games. Like, if I just put it all on him.
I would be very surprised if Wilkes was the DC come week 1, 2026. The real question is, do they fire him midseason? If they do, get ready to learn Eric Washington. Like, that's really the only guy that I think, unless Glenn assumes DC responsibilities himself, which I think he's less likely to do, I think you would probably promote Washington, he's their D-line coach right now. He was DC with the Bears.
Oh, he's doing a bang-up job.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. But he's the only guy, I think, on that defensive staff besides Glenn and Wilkes with DC experience.
He was a DC last year with the Bears.
Right.
We're actually okay defensively.
I think that's what would probably happen. But as Butch is saying here, I don't want to talk about this point. He says, Wilkes pressures are way too easy to pre-snap. To see pre-snaps, Mahomes torched those looks in Super Bowl 58. Yes, the Jets are not running simulated pressures. When they show blitz, almost every time they're bringing it. And again, the vast majority of the time they're showing blitz, they're showing a 5-man pressure, and then they bring those 5 guys. And then teams are not even keeping in extra blockers because they know they don't need extra blockers. You really think you need a chip to stop Braden McGregor? You need a chip to stop
Tyler Barron? No,
of course not.
And I'm harder on Barron than Mauigoa because Barron, I think, he's played more. He's been given a pretty long leash. It has been proven at every preseason, training camp, in-game. He's never shown anything, which is surprising because I went back and watched some Miami film. Like, did I just get fooled? And he was good last year.
You were a big Barron guy.
So what happened? He was good. And he wasn't like an Arian Smith overdraft. Like, I believe the consensus big board, he got picked right where a lot of people think he should have been. He just can't play.
Maui Noah was one that I think was supposed to be undrafted. Like, he was like consensus board undrafted or very late 7th round. So they kind of overdrafted him a bit, but those day 3 picks, it doesn't matter as much. But yeah, like they're showing 5-man and they're bringing the 5-man, and what they're doing is they're just taking a guy out of coverage or a guy who could be a spy. Like, it worked in Detroit.
You had Aiden Hutchinson in Detroit.
Yeah, like,
you can get home.
The scheme that they're running right now, it stinks. Like, just plain blank simple.
How is it vanilla and yet people still don't know it and are out of position?
That's a great question.
It's one thing if it's
the other problem.
Like Brandon Staley was notoriously complex defensively, scheme-wise, so guys were moving around everywhere. It's tough. Like, I'd almost buy that. The whole point of this scheme is it's supposed to be very easy to learn and very static. How are people not learning it yet?
The other problem is there's a lot of players in this personnel group who are used to playing in a zone-heavy scheme in Robert Saleh, under Robert Saleh and Jeff Ulbrich. Steve Wilkes comes in, and we're gonna run press man. We're gonna run a lot of man coverage. We're gonna run a lot of cover 1. They did that a lot the first few weeks of the season. Did not work. Was not working. This past game, they finally started to do a bit more zone coverage. Still not great, though, because now you have guys confused because for the entire summer, they spent their summer learning a scheme that they're already 5 games into the year shifting away from because they've
at least they're trying something different.
They are, but they figured out way too late that, oh, wow, we don't have the personnel to run the actual defense that we wanted to. You probably should have figured that out before you were asking Michael Carter to play press man because Michael Carter can't do that. He just cannot do it. And you don't have the personnel to run the defense they want to. I would say moving forward, you either just don't blitz, literally just stop blitzing.
Matt Eberflus, just sit back. And
you're getting the same. If you sent 3 guys after the quarterback, you'd get the same amount of pressure as if you were sending 5 guys. So just might as well have those 2 guys drop into coverage, right? Or send 6 or 7, go full fucking Brian Flores, Greg Williams, just send a bunch of dudes after the quarterback. And at least, you're forcing the offense to do something different. You're forcing the offense to be out of their comfort zone. You're probably still going to get torched, but at least in a different way. And at least in a way that, if you're facing a younger, inexperienced quarterback, like against Bo Nix this week, I want to see the Jets blitz 7 guys a lot. I want to see them blitz the hell
especially
out of them.
because under pressure, I think he can.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Now, the problem is Denver's got a great offensive line. I don't think they get home ever.
Well, I'm saying send more guys than they have blockers. I'm saying just sell out. That's what I want to do that like 30% of the time. I want to have a free rusher on the quarterback because guess what happens then, Mike?
You'll put Sauce on Sutton. Can Marvin Mims win a lot? Is the question.
You force the quarterback into a decision where he's gonna be forced to get the ball out quicker than he wants to, which will lead to either a potential fumble. It could also lead to him putting the ball in harm's way where he forces a throw and maybe you actually get a takeaway. Like that is the defense you should be trying to run, not these vanilla, obvious 5-man pressures that aren't getting home. It's infuriating every single week to see them doing that.
JJ, was McDonald a fluke or what? He's just a very specific player who needs to be. He's an NFL player who will be in the league for a while. Yes. He cannot be your best pass rusher.
No.
And and again, he didn't come into the year thinking that because they had Jermaine, but Jermaine got hurt. But
I think
he can't be your number 1 pass. He can be your number 3. He can be your number 2 on a bad team. He can't be number 1.
I think he's Yannick Ngakoue. Like, I think that's what he is. And
Yannick Ngakoue had a good career.
But
he was never like a number 1. You got to build your defensive line around him.
If you can rush the passer the way that McDonald can, you are going to be able to – you're going to have a 10-year career in the NFL as long as you continue to do that at the level that he does. Unfortunately, while I think he's been better in run defense lately, I don't think he's a 3-down starter. And because of that, with Jermaine Johnson out, you have a guy who is not a 3-down starter playing.
And then 3 non-NFL players. That's your defensive line.
3 non-NFL players.
Not one guy in that defensive line room outside of Jermaine Johnson can be a 3-down player.
I've been lower on McDonald.
Only one of them's a 2-down player, for crying out loud.
Yeah, I've been lower on McDonald since really they drafted him. And you know that. I've been not the biggest Will McDonald fan. Even last year, I was like, let's pump the brakes a little bit here. He's still kind of unplayable in one facet of the game, even if the pass rush is there. And again, I don't know if this is a guy you give a second contract to. That's gonna be a conversation for the future. But I'm not the biggest Will McDonald fan.
Brian Glick, coaching changes or play calling changes should be 100% on Glenn. We have to trust his vision, even if we haven't seen the results. Stay away, Woody.
Yes.
That I agree with.
Well, please do not have Woody Johnson getting involved, even if it's obvious. Woody, if you're watching this, because apparently you do listen to Jets content.
Please
don't intervene. Do not.
I know it's tempting. All right, let's go on to the quarterback.
Let's go to a couple of players here. We'll kind of rapid fire these because we're running a little bit long. Justin Fields, what is your panic meter level? What is your concern level for Justin
5
Fields at the moment?
And I'll tell you why.
Go for it.
I probably told you this off the record, not off the record, just not live on air. He is playing exactly like he did with the Steelers, warts and all.
Yeah.
Now, so whatever you thought of him on the Steelers, move that over to the Jets. The Steelers are just a much better coach team and with a better roster. Here's the thing I think watching Fields. Garbage time stats are what they are. I don't think I've watched a game this year. And again, guys miss throws. And I think his accuracy is making this offense non-functional. He can't throw the ball accurately. He's outside of the Buffalo game where nobody on the entire team did anything right.
Mm-hmm.
There are moments where I'm like, he's making throws. I think the knock on him was he never went middle of the field. He actually is now more. He's still making plays with his legs. You're always going to get that from him. I've seen some, mostly in the Pittsburgh game, but I've seen a lot more impressive throws, degree of difficulty wise, than I thought I would from him. And he's not turning the ball over, which you got it. That's a legitimate thing. He's not turning the ball over. You got to give him that. But again, the problem is, and this is going to impact everything with him, is he's just a slow processor. And he can't get the ball out quick. And he puts his offensive line in bad situations because he's holding on to the ball longer. Even though running quarterbacks will always hold the ball longer. Lamar, Jalen Hurts are up there too. It's frustrating because the wins haven't come. And I do think I think he's better than he was with the Bears, very clearly. He's what he was with the Steelers.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Glenn thought if we get, like the Steelers, if we get that level play, we'll be able to defensively give him enough support to get some wins, and that just hasn't been proven right. So the quarterback play is a problem because of just he's the quarterback, and it impacts everything. But if you also were going to make a list for whatever this counts of the top Jets players this year, he's got to be on it. Like, I don't think outside, even the Bills game where he was non-playable, I think the entire team lost that game. I don't think there's been a single game this year where I thought if they didn't have Justin Fields as their quarterback, they would have won this game.
3/4 of the Miami game, I think if Tyrod is starting, they probably win that game.
But even then, at the end, like and then he had the run, which Tyrod's not doing that run.
So. Yeah, I know, but he was unplayable for the majority of that Miami game. Like, just mentally, he was so out of it. But yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't know if I'd put him on a list of the best players in the team this year, but I don't think there's been a lot of social media chatter about
because the passer ratings high.
Justin Fields isn't the problem. It's not it's the rest of the team. Like,
okay, if it's 3 teams in 3 years, he's not the problem.
I think two things could be true. I think that Justin Fields is not the biggest issue with the Jets team, and there are absolutely position groups that are a lot worse than quarterback right now for the Jets, which is not saying a lot because the quarterback room is not very good. But I also don't think that Justin Fields is elevating or helping anybody. And I think that he has issues, as we saw here, which I'll pull this back up again. He has issues that exasperate a lot of problems with this offense. He leads the NFL in average time to throw, 3.27 seconds. I know Fields was asked about that today, and he kind of didn't seem to care about it, which obviously he's not going to. It's a stat that only matters when the tape supports it. Like guys like Lamar Jackson also have a very high average time to throw, but they are able to supplement the negative aspects that come with that, which is potentially putting the ball in harm's way, taking more sacks. They're able to supplement that with extending plays, keeping your eyes downfield, and adding explosive plays to the offense, which Fields really has not been able to do this year. Like,
one other thing with him, I think he realized too, he has a very slow release. So on top of that, like, not only does he take longer to throw the ball, but there are some windows where he might throw it, even though he's got above average arm talent to where sometimes he could just fire it in there and overcome it. But I think there are times too where a pass might get batted down because he's got a very long windup, whereas somebody like Bo Nix has a very quick release. He just, and it's out.
Mm-hmm.
So you combine those two things, and I think he thinks, "Nah, I can't make that. Nah, I can't make that. Nah, I can't make that," and then you get sacked.
Yeah, 7 of Fields' 10 sacks this year have come when he has held onto the ball longer than 2.5 seconds. All 5 of his turnover-worthy plays have also come when he has held onto the ball for longer than 2.5 seconds. His PFF passing grade drops from 81.6 to 60.3 when he is holding on to it longer than 2.5 seconds. In fact, Fields has only held onto the ball shorter than that period of time, than that 2.5 seconds interval, on only 27% of his dropbacks. So 73% of his dropbacks, he is holding onto the ball longer than 2.5 seconds. Next lowest besides that is 65%, or I should say next highest. Caleb Williams holding onto the ball 65% of the time for longer than 2.5 seconds. It's clearly an issue with this Jets offense, even if it's not the biggest issue. I'm with you. I think with Fields, I'd say panic meter 4, I'd say it's a 5.
It's what you thought you were going to get.
It's roughly the quarterback play that I'd expect to get, although I will say there have been 2 games this year where either the entire or majority of the game, I thought he was virtually unplayable. So maybe because of that, I'd say like a 6. I'd bump it up to a 6.
But then you see the Steelers game and you're like, all right, it's there.
He's great. No,
it's there. Something's there.
I think that, again, if
the Fields truthers might actually be more tough than the Zach Wilson truthers. Because Zach Wilson truthers, you were arguing with insane people that weren't even in reality. Justin Fields actually has good games and data that backs him up.
The numbers
a little
look good.
Bit. Like, there's actual stuff to debate here. Like, you were just arguing with mental patients.
If I was Tanner Engstrom, if I was this Jets coaching staff, if I was Charles London, the quarterback's coach, I would be talking to Justin Fields and saying we need to emphasize getting the ball out quicker, and we also want you to take more shots, even if you're turning it over. Because that's what I said. Remember what we?
Well, I think Glenn's probably behind the "don't turn it over."
We had these offseason conversations about Fields coming into the year, right? Even before the Jets had signed him to after they signed him, where I said, look, if you can get the Pittsburgh version of Fields that was taking care of the ball a lot more, he still had fumble issues, but he was not throwing interceptions. He threw one pick in Pittsburgh. So he's thrown 1 interception.
So that's what 9 starts in a row, 1 pick.
Right. That's great. Like, if you can get that, also getting him to take more chances, to bring that dynamic ability that he had in Chicago, like, that's the version of Fields that I wanted to see this year. Instead, you're getting the Pittsburgh Steelers version, which the Steelers decided after 6 games, despite the fact that they won 4 of them, that he was worthy to be benched. And they were probably right about it. Like, I think they were probably correct in that assertion. So I just, I don't know if it's just the thing that he can't do. Like you said, if it's a processing thing, like it's definitely partially that. I'm not sure how much you can work with, but those are the coaching points of emphasis.
Josh Reynolds, wide receiver 2, is brutal.
That's the other thing is they don't have a good receiving core. Like that's the other problem with it. But I think 5'6" is feasible. All right, let's rapid fire 3 of these really quick, Mike.
All right.
1 minute talking points for these guys. Sauce Gardner, what is your concern level? What's your panic level meter?
3 to 2.5.
I'm at like
he's a big name that gets, I think he's taking a lot of the unfair stuff. I think when you're that good, people just expect you to be all pro all the time. So again, every mistake, and he's made more this year, people are just getting on him, but I've seen bench or trade Sauce. Can you imagine this secondary if they did not have him?
First of all,
what would Dak have done to this defense if they did not have Sauce Gardner on Pickens?
It'd be terrible. First of all, they financially can't trade Sauce. But Brian said, I bet Fields' first half passing stats for second half stats look like 2 different people. Yes. In fact, I think I saw that stat somewhere on Twitter earlier. I don't have the time to pull it up right now, but absolutely 100%.
Marcelo, though, leading this point, wouldn't it take more risks, having more interceptions affect his mentality? Like, some guys are turnover guys, some guys are coverage guys. Sauce the coverage guy.
No, I think he's talking about,
day is not, I got an interception for him. It's you can get any catches.
Fields. I think he's talking about Fields.
Oh, Fields. Oh, I thought he meant Sauce.
Fields. Yeah, I mean, potentially, yes. But I think you have to do that with this offense. Like, you have to take more chances with what they're doing. The majority of the turnovers have been fumbles. Like, they have to clean that up, obviously. Some of that is just like, man, they've had like
so they are unlucky in addition to being
unlucky. They've had like 15 fumbles in games this year. And I think they've recovered 2, and they both came in week 1. Like, that's absurd. It should not be possible. But yeah, that's a fair counterpoint, Marcelo. But yeah, as far as Sauce goes, I'm probably at like a 4.5 to 5. Like, I think he's playing the worst football of his career right now. I think part of that is because of the scheme, and he's being asked to do a lot more than he's used to, and probably that's, the defensive line is getting absolutely no pressure. He's being put in situations that are difficult for any cornerback. And my issues come more with not necessarily his performance and more so the lack of accountability after he's playing his worst football of his career. And, I think some of these post-game comments have been very, very silly and things that he should not be saying. And I think he's showing to me right now that he has a losing mentality. And that to me is a problem. If you were going to be the highest paid player on this team, if you were going to be the face of the franchise, because dude, when the Jets get promoted, it's because they don't have a quarterback. When they get promoted, Sauce Gardner is the guy in the promotional posters. He is the face of this franchise right now. You can't have your face of your franchise having a loser mentality like he does. That is where my concern lies with him. And I think, again, something that's coaching, like say, hey, he needs a coach to get on his ass, light a fire under his ass and tell him to cut this shit out, right? Like, it's as simple as that. Those are where my concerns lie more with him, whereas, just compare his answers in post-game press conferences to Garrett Wilson. Compare it to what Garrett Wilson says. It's night and day, right? Those are my issues.
Brian Glick has a good point. Dear Sauce, cover the number 1 receiver for 17 seconds.
Yeah, he's being asked to do it. That's why I'm less concerned about it. Like, obviously, we know he's still an unbelievable player. Like, I think he has clear shortcomings in that he gets a little handsy, right? Like, we know that about him.
There have been some penalties that have been awful.
The Mike Evans one.
In terms of him committing them, in terms of the fact they were called.
The Mike Evans one is the worst. Like, that one was very clearly not DPI, and they called that. But yeah, he's a fantastic player, right? And he's a phenomenal football player, and he will hopefully be a part of the solution in New York and not a part of the problem. But there's issues that I would like to see him get cleaned up. The one thing I want to praise him for, I think the tackling has been a lot better this year. I think he's playing with a high-end level of intensity on Sundays. I think his physicality. He's
not moping on the field.
No, he's not. I think his physicality has gotten a lot better too. Like that, I'm very encouraged to see that. Just stop saying stupid shit after games and take a little bit of accountability. Like that's all I ask of you, Sauce.
Even if you're right, don't say it.
Right. Olu Fashanu. Concern level, panic meter. He is, by the way, currently 3rd in the NFL in pressures allowed behind Cornelius Lucas and Charlie Heck. Both of whom, by the way, have played 1 less game than Fashanu. Cornelius Lucas, 28 pressures allowed in 4 games. That's unreal. It's 7.
It's a 6 for 2 reasons. Number 1, I remember there was like a game and a half, especially the Tampa game, where they were just overloading that one side, and a lot of pressures got attributed to him. He's been the worst of the 5 linemen. He's been worse than I thought he'd be.
Josh Myers is starting at center.
Yes, he's been worse than I thought he'd be, but at the same time, as we talk about these things hand in hand, like I don't want to like diagnose every single pressure. I haven't like looked that far back, but there has to be a good chunk of them that are Fields holding the ball. And then they're making him look. That's why I don't love always raw pressure numbers for linemen, especially when you have a guy like this, because I don't want to say all of them or most of them or whatever, but there's a lot of them where if you hold for 2.5 seconds, I'm like, okay, that's good. And then Fields holds the ball longer than that on average. And then a guy gets by him. It's like, well, what's Olu supposed to do? Walk backwards, blocking a guy running at him for 5 seconds. That's tough. Membu, I think, has been fantastic on the other side.
Oh, Membu's been great. No one is concerned about Membu, obviously.
If this O-line isn't good, we have nothing. That's our only strength. The O-line is good, generally. You're not going to have 5 Bruce Matthews every single play.
Yeah. Brian said, love watching the show on my lunch break. Appreciate it, Brian. We're happy we can provide a little midday entertainment. I'm at like what did you say? What did you say we are, 6? I think I'm lower than you. I think I'm like a 4.5. And I'll say this. I think he's played poorly this year. I agree that the pressure numbers are inflated, but I think he's been bad independent of that. The reason I'm not higher is because I think it's a super correctable issue. When I watch back and I watch a lot of the times he's getting beat this year, they're almost all in the same thing. He is oversetting and he's getting like he oversets and he gets beat inside, and it's usually by the same move. It's usually like the DN does a little fake jab step outside and then punches him inside and beats him inside. Like that's the play he's getting beat on. And I think that is very correctable. Didn't seem to be
basically a rookie in terms of starting games because he barely started last year.
It didn't seem to be an issue with him last year. I don't remember it being an issue with him in college. I'd have to watch back. I don't remember that step, standing out.
But again, it's college athletes. He was just overwhelming physically. So
I think it's just the same thing. And maybe it is partially a mentality thing where he's like, well, I'm going to have to block for longer than Field, with Fields back there. So maybe I have to overset a little bit because this guy might try to beat me out wide. And I know Fields is going to, hold on to the ball forever. And he needs a perfectly clean pocket. Maybe it's that. I don't know if it's a mentality thing or what, but I think it's a very correctable issue. And I think that, we saw him play at a pretty high level at left tackle last year. We saw him play at I would say an above average to above average level at left tackle last season. I don't think this is a situation where I am super concerned about him long-term. If this happens for the remainder of the year, the level will rise, like the panic meter will rise. But I think right now through 5 weeks, I see it's kind of one issue that's still affecting him. I think it's correctable. Hopefully this Jets coaching staff can do that and fix it.
Brian Glick, I'd like to see more 6 O-line and 2 tight end sets. We're going to tell them we're running and show you that we can.
And when they've done that this year, it's actually worked.
Yeah. They run well, and then they get to the 2-yard line and fumble.
They've been using Max Mitchell a lot.
Go look at every team that runs the ball well. They're all good except the Jets.
Yeah.
They're the only one. Eagles are good. Ravens got hurt a bunch this year, but they always are number 1 or 2, and they're good.
Yep.
They're all good. Colts this year.
Last guy. Defensive side of the ball. Probably one of the most disappointing players in the team this year. Jamien Sherwood. What is your panic meter with Jamien Sherwood?
10 to the max.
Ooh, wow.
I am so concerned. Okay. Because you can't get out of that contract, and they don't have anybody who could really come in for him. So you got to ride it out with him.
It's true.
He looks like a Jeff Ulbrich merchant, a Robert Saleh merchant, and I think a CJ Mosley merchant. I think having Mosley next to him as a veteran, telling him where to line up and making up for stuff, I think that really – Sherwood was good last year, but –
I thought he played great last year, and he played most of the year next to Quincy,
Yeah, but then what happened?
Partially I think it's a scheme. I think part of it is also – I know the Jets linebackers were both really good last year, but I do think there's something to be said about – I know it's different now because Quincy's hurt, but you have 2 undersized players at the position, right? I think Jamien Sherwood's a little bit undersized for a Mike linebacker role. Yes. And we talked about this before the show, where I think he'd probably be better as a will. I'm not sure if
they don't have any mics though.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you maybe adjust that going the next year. Maybe you try and replace him at the mic. I don't know what you do there, but I think he'd probably be better as a will in this scheme. I'm not at a 10, but I'd say I'm like an 8. Like the biggest concern.
The effort's the problem.
That's what I was going to say.
And it's right after he got paid. That's what I'm concerned about because now he's got no motivation.
I think he's played poorly, but I think there's guys who have definitely played a lot worse than him. And I think it's been a little overstated how bad he's been, but I do think
it's so obvious when he messes up, though, is the problem.
Yeah, I think he's been bad. And I think the more concerning part is the effort. That is something you cannot have from your defensive captain. And it's coming out of nowhere because I don't think anybody would have
flew around last year.
I don't think anybody would have pointed to Jamien Sherwood. Jamien Sherwood, they trusted Sherwood enough that by the way, like his second start last year, he was already given the green dot to call defensive plays. They loved him. Love this dude. Unanimous defensive captain. Like nobody would have disputed with him being the defensive captain on a defense that features Quinn Williams, Sauce Gardner, Quincy Williams, Jermaine Johnson. Nobody had any issues about Jamien Sherwood being the defensive leader. So it is shocking, jarring, stunning that he is showing this lack of effort. And that is the biggest concern for me. And I think they need to figure out why that is right now. I think performance-wise, I think he can potentially bounce back. But, brother, they needed to show a lot more effort than this. All right. You want to do real quick, a little preview? Broncos. I mean, we're very over. It's been a long show. You know, this is what happens. We should have known this, Mike. We're doing a Jets panic meter. There's a lot to panic about. We should have known we were going to go long. Very quickly, what are you thinking about?
Let's try and analyze this like an actual game, because I don't think they're going to win. But let's try and actually pretend that they're 0-0 and actually look at this like a game here. I really don't know how this team scores 14 points.
I don't think they do.
Because even if Denver has a good defensive line, Nick Bonito might win Defensive Player of the Year, Zach Allen, John Franklin Myers.
Dude, JFM's even better in Denver than he was with the Jets. He's awesome. So good. Such a good player.
And Hassan Reddick's doing okay in Tampa.
Yep. Bryce Huff's killing it in San Francisco now.
Yeah, funny how that works.
Yep.
If only he showed up. Anyway, even if the offensive line, because the offensive line I think is good enough to limit them to some degree. The problem I have is obviously with the passing game, because they have Patrick Surtain, I know he's just the de facto number one cornerback. I think he's not as good as people say he is, but he's obviously an all-pro talent. And he's obviously very, very good.
I think he's probably the best corner in the NFL at this stage right now.
Yeah, but again, I don't like people making it seem like he's perfect, because he's not. Because
no,
I mean, no, straight up not good
at the cornerback position. No one's perfect. Like it's just such a hard position.
So, but they're just going to probably have him follow Garrett Wilson and say somebody else make a play, and no one else on this team Mason Taylor can make a play, but it's a rookie tight end. So it's going to be Justin Fields checking down to a rookie tight end, and their linebackers tackle pretty well, Alex Singleton and Justin Sternad. So that's a problem. Defensively, I have my problems with Bo Nix as a quarterback, but he's better than I thought he'd be, and he's certainly a long-term guy there for Denver. The things that I don't like about Nix are he'll just miss deep throws horribly every now and again. He's got kind of the bozo gene in him, and it'll rear its head at weird times.
I like that, the bozo gene.
I think especially when he climbs the pocket, I think he doesn't always know what he's seeing, and he'll try throws from weird angles when he doesn't need to. The problem is all of that is mitigated by Sean Payton, a great offensive line. Not good, great. Might be the best in the league.
It's really good.
Line. Are they going to get a pressure? Are they going to get a pressure? I don't think they can.
I don't know, man.
It's that bad.
I don't know, man. Garrett Bowles and Mike McGlinchey and Quinn Miners, like
I remember when Bo Nix played Robert Saleh last year, and he looked like he was a UFL quarterback because part of it was they just throwed short every single play, but Robert Saleh's team managed to actually cover ground and tackle in space. This team can never do that. Denver's not like they're a good team. I don't think they're a great team, like a contender right now. As JJ says, maybe they have a letdown after a great win at Philly. Nah.
So you could hope. You could hope there's some sort of emotional letdown.
I don't think they're the best team, but in terms of just for the Jets specifically, it might be hard to find a team that specifically is built to beat this Jets team quite like Denver is.
Yeah, I don't know how the Jets score any points. I'm not going to lie. I like you said, Garrett Wilson's going to be
unless Garrett Wilson has the best game he's ever had.
Wilson's going to be shadowed by Pat Surtain. Like they're going to blitz the shit out of Fields. He's going to probably fold. I really don't know how they move the ball. They're going to try and run the ball, obviously, and Denver's got an awesome run defense. What did Saquon have, like 30 yards last week? Something like that.
6 carries for 30 yards.
Right.
Well, they just stopped running at a certain point.
That's why, which they just stopped trying to even do it.
They just threw in the second half. They just threw every play pretty much,
which is crazy, jarring to see. I mean, imagine the Jets trying to do that. They might have to, but like, I don't trust Justin Fields to be able to do that.
I feel like in his brain he wants to play like that, but he just can't.
The only sense or prayer the Jets have is if, like you said, JJ, the Broncos have an emotional letdown somehow coming off that.
So nothing schematic. It's all just looking past them. That's the only shot they got.
And then you're traveling across the Atlantic. Maybe they're tired. I don't know. I don't know when they're getting to it because the Jets are spending a whole week. They're already there now. They're spending a whole week in the UK. I don't know about I
think they're over there now too.
They might be already there, but and you also you have to get a few lucky bounces. You have to get takeaways. Like that's the way you could, if you win the turnover.
Nix has been turning the ball over a little bit this year.
Right. But
it's been when he's under pressure, and the Jets never get pressure on anybody. So
not only is it only when he's under pressure, like this Jets, even if they get pressure, like they're not going to get takeaways. Like the Jets defense has not shown any ability to get it. Like they don't have one. They literally have 0 takeaways this season.
And they're not even in position to get any. When's the last time they broke up a pass, for crying out loud?
They've had a couple of PBUs, like pass breakups, but they've not even come close. I don't think they've come close to a pick since week 1 when Brandon Stevens dropped that pick. I don't remember another like dropped interception they've had. I really don't.
The Jaguars have 14 turnovers, by the way.
God, dude.
The Jets don't have it.
So the only path to victory is the Jets somehow winning the turnover battle. And I don't mean it winning it like 2-1. I mean like 3-0. Like they get 3 takeaways and don't turn the ball over at all. And maybe you get some special teams juice, which that also has been failing for the Jets because their return game stinks.
One more thing outside of that, because I just thought about Jacksonville. Oh, Jags hired Liam Cohen. Doesn't take that long. Jaguars had their quarterback installed and a very good defense that needed a good coordinator. That is totally different.
Yeah.
Totally different.
Although, I think I'd still rather have Liam Cohen right now than Aaron Glenn. So
yeah, but also like
yeah, I mean, obviously, I think if he's there, I don't know, but JJ said, "Are you guys excited for Indiana versus Oregon Saturday? Dante Moore for Fernando Mendoza? Absolutely.
The winner's the loser because the winner will go to the Jets. So
that is probably right now. Would you say that's probably QB1 and QB2 in this class? I mean, Sellers, Nussmeier still there too.
Sellers, for some reason, like Nussmeier is dropping.
Yeah.
But I have a hard time believing, even with Tyler Shook, that a guy who the offense is coordinated by his dad and he's from LSU. And are they really going to not let him? Are they going to pass on him?
You would think Nuss goes to New Orleans. Like
Rattler's been pretty good actually, though.
It's not going to matter. If they have a top 5 pick, which they're going to have a top 5 pick, they're probably going to have a top 3 pick. It's not going to matter. Like they're not. And it sucks for Rattler. I think Rattler could be decent in the NFL. Like I hope
he's been better this year, Rattler or Justin Fields.
Probably Spencer Rattler. I'd rather have Rattler right now than Fields. I'll tell you that, which is crazy. But
Rattler actually gets the ball out quick.
Definitely excited to see that game.
What's Fields, the 26th best quarterback in the league?
Yeah, which is right around where
what we thought he'd be. So you don't have any right to complain. You bought it's Arrested Development. Dead bird, don't eat, and they open it up. I don't know what I was expecting.
I've never seen the show, but sure.
That's where that meme is from.
Okay.
They paid a guy who's the 26th best quarterback, and they thought they could ball control defense their way to wins, and they can. I don't know if that's Fields' fault.
They have the worst,
like he always has.
Because they have the worst defense in the NFL and the worst turnover differential in the NFL, and some of the worst special teams right now. I mean, their kicker and punter's been good, but their return game has been a disaster. But yeah, I'm very excited for that game. That'll be fun. Dante Moore, man. We don't know if he even comes out. Like we don't know if he's going to even declare. But right now, he might be QB1. Like he might have already put himself in that conversation.
I don't know. He's very skinny.
I know.
Turns out if you go to UCLA, you're terrible. Then when you go to an offense where everybody's good, suddenly you're good. Huh.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Dorian Thompson-Robinson was still bad in the NFL.
I mean, Dylan Gabriel threw for a bajillion yards in that offense.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, what is he listed at, Dante Moore? Like 205?
6'3", 205.
If he can get up to like 220, now we're talking. Like, I think he can bulk up to 220.
He's not really mobile either.
But he's young. He's like, he's 19, he's 20 years old. He's so young.
He's not crazy mobile either, though, is the thing.
I mean, he's not like the Lenore.
And Mendoza's just huge, so you make up for that. So
who would your QB1 be right now?
Sellers? Probably Sellers.
You have
the problem is if Sellers is bad, I feel like it's going to be exactly the same way Fields is bad.
I feel like the selling point with Sellers, no pun intended, is this is Anthony Richardson, but a little bit further along in his development. Like further along than Richardson currently.
He's not that big or has that level of. Anthony Richardson's like, this guy can't play quarterback, but if you teach him to, he will be a Hall of Famer.
It's the fun, could be fun to fix meme. Yeah, like that's what Anthony Richardson is.
Steichen couldn't fix, but he fixed Daniel Jones.
He did. Jets, you know how bad you got to be for Steichen not to be able to fix
every rehabilitation project except Mitch Trubisky and Justin Fields are the ones. Maybe it's the Bears thing. I don't know. Maybe some organizations, because the only two reclamations like that haven't worked recently are Mitch Trubisky and Justin Fields.
Yeah, I guess so. Like Baker, Darnold, Jones.
Geno worked.
Geno worked eventually. That wasn't even a reclamation.
That took like 10 years.
That wasn't a reclamation project. That was we're signing a vet backup. Like that's what he was. And then somehow
JJ Sellers isn't developed as a passer. Nobody's fully developed yet. They're not even in the league.
He's the selling point with Sellers, again, no pun intended, is you're running a very similar offense to probably what you're doing with Fields right now. You are getting you are getting the most physically gifted, athlete at the quarterback position in this quarterback class.
But he actually processes quick.
But he processes a lot quicker. And again, I think he's literally further along in his development than Anthony Richardson is now, which is not saying a lot, but I think that would be the.
I have a feeling the Jets, no matter what happens in the field, then they're going to take a chance on him at some point.
It makes a lot of sense. Like it makes so much sense. You can still run the exact same offense you want to run right now with Sellers and probably do it better with a higher ceiling. That would be the hope.
You know what? Maybe the Jets will beat the Broncos because every time I picked them to be 0-5 this year.
Okay,
You picked them to win one game and then they lost it.
I did pick them to win one game, and I will not be picking them to win again until further notice. So,
but what if we're right all the time? Then that's our fault.
Do you think we're the reason that they're losing?
Look, man, all I'm saying.
Maybe Woody's calling and he's listening to us and he's calling in and he's like, guys, you got to lose. The Jet Press podcast.
We got to keep the magic going.
So Mike Luciano on the Jet Press podcast said we're going to lose. We got to make sure.
It went a little bit longer, but it was necessitated because there has been a lot of things that have happened. If they score 14 points in this game, I'm happy.
What's your final score prediction, real quick?
28-10.
I'll say 31-6. I'll say 31-6.
That bad, huh?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be brutal. I think it's gonna be a disaster.
Is that anything gonna be an indictment on Glenn, or just like is that gonna be like they don't have anybody?
It'll be both. Like if they lose by 25, if you lose by 25 to really any team, I'm pretty upset about that. Unless it's like a Justin Fields throws 3 or fumbles it 4 times. Like
if he just melts down again, like the Buffalo game, it's like, well, he just couldn't do anything right. So,
but if it's you just completely out coached and out schemed as well as being out talented. Which, that's a phrase, like that. Yeah. But that just speaks to how low I am in this coaching staff right now. Like I have no desire or no expectations for this.
The guy who complained, all you guys do is talk, wanted you to predict a win.
Dude, I
love that guy. All you do on this podcast is talk about the Jets.
Genuinely, one of my favorite comments of all time is somebody going to a podcast, like listening to a podcast and saying, God, all you guys do is talk. That's still so funny. Like, what do you expect? Why are you listening to a podcast, man? Anyway,
a Jets podcast.
Which any podcast, and we're leaving a reply. I'm going to start doing that. I'm going to go watch other podcasts and reply why all you guys do is talk.
All this Justin Fields guy does is throw the ball. I mean, come on now.
What are we talking about? All right. So that's our score predictions. We'll see if we're right. I have a feeling we're going to be right about the
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Jet Press Podcast. Everything sucks except this podcast, so keep listening to us because
sometimes this podcast
we're worth your time and effort. This team is not. So
sometimes
Apple, Google, Spotify, Overcast, you know where to find us. YouTube, subscribe, like. Justin.
Yeah, it all sucks, man. I don't know. Maybe it'll suck a little bit less this Sunday. I doubt it, though. Maybe it'll suck less after that. Maybe it'll suck less in 10 years. Maybe it'll suck less when I'm 85 years old. I don't know. We'll find out. But until then, until I'm 85 years old, thank you all for joining us on the show today. You can follow Mike on Twitter at @MyMichaelChan. Follow me on Twitter, Justin T. Fried. Follow the Jet Press at the Jet Press. Download the Jet Press podcast wherever you get your podcast. Check us out on YouTube and TikTok. Subscribe, like, hit the notification bell. You can also become a member today. It costs 99 cents. It's a great way to help support the show and get your comments prioritized in chat. We stream live every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you all for listening to Jet Press Podcast. I've been Justin Fried. That's Mike Luciano. Mike, I actually think this might be our longest episode that we have ever done. This is an hour and like 23 minutes. That's ridiculous. Thank you all for listening to Jet Press Podcast. We'll see you guys next time.
My kingdom for a victory. Just get one on the board, man.